When it comes to horror games, there aren't many that some would describe as fun, but Dying Light might be one of those games. I've been told countless times that Dying Light may be one of the best zombie games of all time, but is it actually worth your time? Welcome to Stay Tuned on Gaming. I'm your host Damien, where I actually see if video games are worth your time. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Today I'll be looking at the zombie playground and Techland's masterpiece, Dying Light, to see if this game is truly worth your time. Let's get into the game.
Our plan is focused on the greater good. Remember that. Crane, get this done.
Alright, I'm in.
So the first thing I have to say about Dying Light that I was pretty surprised by was its story. It's actually pretty good. It's not your typical zombie tale, and it's not really a zombie apocalypse story. It takes place in the fictional city of Haran, where a viral outbreak has turned people into these aggressive infected or zombies. They quarantine and seal off parts of the city. The GRE, or the Global Relief Efforts, send in airdrop supplies to basically assist the survivors. You play as Carl Crane, an undercover GRE agent who is looking for Kadir Suleiman, who is basically blackmailing the GRE with some sensitive information. But your first day goes horribly long. As you land, you're quickly attacked, and then you get bitten by one of the affected. You're quickly saved and taken to the tower where all the survivors have gathered. Like, you actually learn that they are actual survivors. You quickly learn that there's a drug called antacin that basically slows down the process of infection and suppresses the symptoms. But it's not easy to get to, as you learn that the survivors are at war with a group of bandits led by the warlord named Riaz, who steals the airdrops that GRE sends, especially the very important antacin. You now find yourself in the middle of this faction war and have to decide between completing your mission or helping the survivors. And the deeper you go, the more you learn about the truth of this virus and who can you actually trust. It's surprisingly a really well told and engaging story. I was really not expecting it to be this good. I actually wanted to learn more about it and actually wanted to see where the story goes. Carl Crane is also a really fun and great character, starting off as somebody that just wants to complete his mission, but learning to love Haran and the people within. And of course, not sure if he can trust the GRE, wants to learn about the truth of the virus. Again, there's some real fun stuff doing here. Like, Crane's improvement and development over the story is really well done. And that's also the fact that there's some really fun side characters. Brecken, who is leading the survivors and is completely out of his depth. Reyes, who's the head of these gangs, and he's a complete maniac. Dr. Z here, who's trying to find the cure to the survivors, and a bunch of other smaller characters that all make it really, really fun and memorable. Seriously, I didn't expect to actually like the story as much as I did. And overall, it's a really good plot that is pretty engaging. This is coming from an open world type game where the zombies is like where you're running around doing parkour zombie moves. Didn't really expect it. I will say that during the second half of the game, it's a bit weaker than the first, as most of the characters are either gone or just disappear in the second half, and it mostly becomes Reyes and Crane fighting each other. And then the game kind of just ends as well. Like, we don't really get a full resolution to the virus. We never even get a full-on idea of what the virus is or how it was completely started. So it kind of leaves it very open-ended for the second game. But again, I really liked what the game has to offer. So if you think that the story is going to be bland or boring, it really isn't. It's surprisingly well told, especially nowadays when you get most open world games tell pretty boring stories as the game goes, as the years have gone on. And of course, there's also a sequel DLC that goes into more details and kind of can give you a little bit more of information and new characters. So overall, surprisingly really well told story that I actually really enjoyed.
It will take for someone of her caliber to break.
What? No, forget it, I'm not doing it.
I hear no true conviction in your voice, Crane. You have not yet made your choice, I can tell. Will you be a dog and save the dwellers of the tower? Or will you be a man and save the maiden? Go and think about it.
Alright, let's get into graphics. So for game release in 2015, Dying Light looks really, really good. Iran is fantastic and well designed. From the sunrise to the sunset, the game just sticks out. It has its own identity, its own charm, which really works. I really like a lot of the details that the game has. I love that you can tell exactly where you are in the city just by the various different monuments and ideas that you get, so you hardly will ever look at the map. I love the different styles of the zombies, the details that they have on them, from everyday clothes to the hazmat suits. You can tell clearly what zombie is going to be dangerous and what zombie is going to try to kill you. And what I really love is just the small storytelling that the game does with its environments, especially in the tower, the tower where all the survivors hide in. It just feels real, it feels lived in. A lot of the stuff just really makes sense. And the game looks just as good as at night as it looks during the day. Overall, this is a beautiful game. And I would say that if you said this game came out today, it would stand out still very much. There is an enhanced edition that you can download a pack, and basically it will give some updated visuals and textures to the game. And still, I think the game looks really good. Overall, I love this game's graphics, the design. I will say that it's not perfect, like some of the facial animations can look sometimes stiff and weird, especially because they do this thing where if you zoom in, they do like the zoom into the face so you can see what they're doing. And like sometimes it looks pretty weird sometimes, but overall, it looks really good. The audio is not bad as well. A lot of the voice acting is pretty good. I love the sound of the zombies. They are very loud and brash, so you can hear them from a big distance overall. So I think that's really good as well. And for the music-wise, there's some really good music. There's some really good tracks in the game that I really like. I like the main theme a lot. And overall, I really enjoyed it. A lot of the visual sounds as well are pretty good. So yeah, Dying Light is not a bad game to look at. And it's not a bad game to hear as well.
Hey, Raheem! It worked, man! Hey, your plan worked, kid! Raheem? Hey, do you copy?
When it comes to gameplay, Dying Light in its simplest form is an open-world zombie survival game. You traverse around finding materials, crafting powerful weapons and items, all the while trying to fight the zombie horde. And one of the game mechanics that the game is really known for is its traversal, which it uses parkour. Iran is filled with various traversal options that allow you to jump across buildings, run across rooftops, all the while making you get across the map very quickly and bypassing the horde on the ground. In fact, you don't want to be on the ground for a very long time, as, well, you will get swarmed very quickly. But if you do find yourself on the ground, try to climb a wall and get to the roof as fast as you can. Falling in garbage or cans can soften the blow, but can also make a lot of noise, which attracts the big horde coming after you. And I can see how people love the traversal in this game. It's really fun. You can gain some great speed and definitely build out some entire routes for yourself. I love when you actually can see where the map is. You know where you're going just by certain locations, and you start to plan out routes and plan out ideas for where to go from one side of the map to the other. I really love the traversal in this game, but it's not all perfect. And I find that there were some things that there were some issues that I had. For example, like when you try to make a jump that you think you can make, but you really cannot. And sometimes trying to climb on the side of a wall can be very annoying. I also didn't like that sometimes it can be really hard to climb the towers in the game, as there was just a very annoying, like, not being able to jump properly at points here and there. I think that's just some of the first-person issues that the game has, but I will say that what really changed was around like level 12 when you get the grappling hook. This completely changes parkour and fixes a lot of the issues I had with traversal, such as clearing big long jumps, climbing up some very impossible places, and being able to launch yourself from the ground to the roof was a blessing. It completely changed traversal in the game, and while I still used a lot of parkour, the grappling hook became a staple in my items, and I really loved it. I also love how there was actually two maps in the game. The first map being Haran, which is very much two-sided map, which is an inner city and then an outer city, which is basically around the shore areas, so there's much less climbing and more running on the ground. And then you have a secondary map, which is just a big city area where you can now use the grappling hook a lot more, since buildings are way more further apart, and there's much more big open areas, but it's very much city filled. I really like that. And I was actually surprised that there were actually two areas and two map areas in the place. The only issue I had is that you don't really unlock fast travel until you finish the game, so trying to get between the two maps was pretty annoying. As for combat, it's quite simple. You can carry up to 4 weapons at a time. You also have a kick which can do some sort of like stun damage, and you can block as well. Now there's certain types of weapons like blades can cut off limbs and making it easier to kill enemies, while certain other weapons can bludgeon enemies which can stun them. You have one-handed weapons that are quick to use but use less power, and two-handed weapons that are slower but they do way more damage. You also have ranged weapons such as bows, guns and rifles, pistols and shotguns all the while. Weapons also have different rarities, so which means picking up the same weapon can have different stats, and the stats do differ, such as damage, durability, how much repairs it can do, and how much upgrades you can add to the weapon. For example, being able to upgrade weapons can change durability, handling, or even attack power, which is actually very, very important. And finding different rarities for that, for those upgrades, can actually change how much durability is added, or how much repairs can be added, or even how much it can affect. Some can only affect one, such as durability, but others can affect all three, such as attack power, handling, and durability. You can find blueprints or purchase new weapons so you can unlock different types. You can also add elemental effects to these weapons, such as fire, electricity. Some can even add 2 elemental effects, such as electricity and fire, which is also really, really cool. The weapons do degrade over time, but they can be repaired with materials, but each weapon has a limit to their repairs. I really like a lot of the weapons in the game, and some of them can even be changed further on so they can have permanent effects, like permanent electricity or permanent fire, which I really, really like. Again, there's a lot of weapons in this game, so many. I mean, at first it starts off very small, which is a few melee weapons, and then later on you get access to ranged weapons such as guns and bow and arrows and stuff like that. So it does change over time, and the game starts to lean more from the melee side to the gun side, especially when you start fighting a lot of the human enemies. Now you can also make use of items such as firecrackers, which can lure zombies in a certain direction, flares to deter them at nighttime, and of course throwing weapons such as knives, axes, shurikens, or even Molotov cocktails. Now, when it comes to the item side of things, there's a lot here that you'll basically use only here and there. Most of the time I used firecrackers, that became my go-to weapon, and I always had some sort of throwing weapon. And so you can kind of figure out a build that you really, really like as you go on. Certainly, I always had some sort of elemental weapon, and then I had my more powerful weapon that I would use in case I ever get swarmed. And then later on, I would change those out to have much more of a bow and arrow and then a gun in certain places, so it can make it much easier to kill the enemies. Now, targeting certain limbs on zombies can disable them, just attacking a leg will cause them to crawl, while attacking their arms can disarm them if they're holding a weapon. The same goes for human enemies as well. Now, as for enemies, you have your typical slow infected zombies that all walk around during the day. They don't do much, but make a lot of noise, and they'll all start gathering. They don't do a lot, but they can swarm you and kill you very, very quickly. Virals are fast and agile, and they always try to chase you down. In fact, they're the ones that will try to attack you more than anything else. They also like coming right at you, which can be very, very hard to take down. Especially some of them can also climb, which can be very annoying. You have toads who can spit acid from a distance, bombers who explode when they get close to you, goons and demolishers are these big bulking brutes that do a lot of damage. Some can throw things at you, others can charge. They're kind of like the mini bosses in the game. There's a good variety, and expect to fight them a lot in many, many groups, and expect to see a lot of zombies, which is really, really crazy. You also have human enemies, and I have to say, fighting the human enemies in these games was sometimes tougher than the infected, because unlike the infected, they can dodge, block, and even stun you. Seriously, I really, really hated a lot of the human enemies in these games, because sometimes it felt like they were harder to kill than any of the zombies. As the zombies, sometimes if I got lucky, I can be able to do like a really good swing and cut their heads off immediately with one hit. And then the human enemies were like, no, we're gonna block and dodge you and all that kind of stuff. It got pretty annoying very, very quickly. Now, during the day, you'll scour the city looking for materials to craft weapons and items, save survivors, unlock safe houses, which are very important for at night, trying to avoid the horde, and of course doing any main missions that you need to do. Zombies are slow, but they can swarm you very quickly and kill you very, very quickly. But the most you're having to deal with will either be the big blue Guna guys that will try to attack you, demolishers, or being the virals who will climb a little bit and will try to hit you. But there's not really much going on during the day. You can enter quarantine zones, which has high zombie density but valuable loot, and the GRE has airdrops, which basically contain some very important loot, which you can take back to the quartermaster, and in return he'll give you a lot of money and of course increase your rank with the survivors as well. But you have to get there pretty quickly because the warlords, the bandits will try to take it from you before you can get there. Now, at this point in time, Dying Light feels like a fun open world zombie game. But at night, the game completely changes. The infected that was once slow and dumb become accurate and aware, and the moment you are spotted begins a chase of heightened tension and danger. The volatiles, who only appear at night, will do anything and everything to catch you. And unlike the other zombies, they run really fast, can climb and leap to buildings very, very quickly. And worst of all, they are very, very hard to kill. At this point, Dying Light's fun, open-world zombie game becomes a horror-filled nightmare, as the only thing you can do is run fast enough to escape their sight. But what's difficult is that you have to be quiet, you have to jump, and certain buildings can be very hard to see where you're going. And at the same time, you can run into other volatiles that can also make the chase even more dangerous. Now you can use your ultraviolet flares or UV lighter and firecrackers to temporarily stun them or distract them. Or you can reach a safe house to stop the chase. It becomes a dangerous game, but with something of really, really fun. The dynamic day and night cycle is really good in this game. Day is fun, night is scary, and you're just trying to run from one place to another. Now you can always try to take on the volatiles, but like I said, it's really hard to kill them. And it's really, really hard to take them down. And again, as you're making noise to take one down, another might just come running into you and trying to attack you. Now you can fast forward time manually by sleeping in the safe house, which can make it nighttime or make it daytime. But why would you want to force nighttime? Well, because nighttime is a high risk, high reward. During the night, you'll find high valued items and weapons, but most importantly, all the XP you earn at night is doubled during that time. So basically, if you do your normal climbing abilities, which gets you 10 XP, at night it will get you 20. And if you survive the night, you get to take it all home. And that's how the game does its leveling up. I really, really love this concept of when during the day it's fun, and at night, if you want to take the risk, try to get as much as you can so you can do your leveling up. And leveling up is basically split into 3 categories. Agility, which deals with your parkour abilities, stamina and speed, power, which focuses on your combat from one-handed moves to crafting new components and new weapons, and survivor is your overall level, which is usually leveled up by doing missions, bounties, and returning airdrops to other people. And I really like this system. It always feels like you're doing something. Every climb you do, you get to see a little ticker jump up, be like 15 or 10. I really like that. Whenever you're fighting enemies, you get to see them actually, give the number up there on your level system. And I really like it. You also get to see where you sway towards. I swayed towards more combat as I didn't do too much parkour at night. But if you want to get your parkour elements up very quickly, well, you gotta make it nighttime and run like a mad person. And it's really fun. And you can even increase the level of the sprint. The more times you activate the volatiles at night, the more the sprint levels up, the more dangerous it becomes, but the more XP you get. This system just makes it really, really fun that any moment, at any point, you can make it daytime with nighttime, and you can have just a lot more fun with the game. If you want to make it a really scary horror game, you can do it at night. And some missions do require nighttime escapades, as during the day, the zombies horde is basically all crunched up together in small areas. But at night, they go and they roam out, so the areas are much more filled with zombies during the night, and of course, the crazy volatiles that try to attack you. And the abilities that you can unlock is actually really good. Like, there's a lot of really fun game-changing abilities that you can get in the game. Like, the parkour abilities alone are really good. Like the ability to climb up a wall, to do a slide, or even make your slide attacks more powerful. And even the weapon abilities are really, really good as well. I actually really like a lot of this. All the mechanics really play well into Dying Light, and everything kind of flows into one another, which makes it really, really fun. Now, the game can also be played online with friends, with you being able to go through the whole campaign together, except for like the last mission, which has to be played alone. Now, I didn't really test this feature because I didn't have anyone to play with, but at least it's a cool feature to have. Players can also invade your game as the hunter if your game is connected to the internet. Now, where the hunter is trying to kill you and you have to destroy the nest before the hunter kills you enough times. Again, this is a cool, neat idea that was probably fun back in the day, but right now it's more of an annoyance more than anything else. After I had it happen to me once, I only was the only guy playing, of course, and the hunter was just trying to attack me. It wasn't really that fun, so I switched my playthrough to offline after that. But I can see where it was probably fun during during that time. But nowadays it isn't. You can also play as the hunter yourself in the Be the Zombie mode and invade other players' games. This game mode has its own level system and abilities for the hunter, which I think is really cool. But again, it can be hard to find games to basically invade, as this is a very, very old game. And I just didn't really find it as fun and really fun to use. Again, back in the day, it might have been fun to play, but now it's kind of not there. Now, I don't think the game is all perfect. I think one of the weakest elements of the game is its crafting system, which can be confusing to really use. Like, there's no real way to craft some items that are really fun. Like, when you're trying to craft an item, you have to go through a list to see what's available, and sometimes they tell you, oh, this weapon is available, but you really can't make that weapon because they tell you now you're actually missing some material. So it can be very clunky to do a crafting menu. And the crafting menu itself isn't fun to navigate, and it's kind of messy, as there's so much stuff that you can craft in the game, so many weapons, so many weapon upgrades, so much extra items that you can craft, that you have to go through a big list to roll down and scroll down that can be very, very annoying to use. Even your own backpack, I think, is just a mess when it comes to the navigation, and some of the UI just isn't that fun to use. I also wish that the game had maybe some loadouts. I know this sounds weird, but it's because at nighttime, I change my items every single time. I don't use the same items I do at night, and even the same weapons I use at night. So I really wish that you could have just switched out your loadout to having a day loadout and a night loadout, instead of me having to go through the menu every single time to basically change where I have to go and basically change every single time when the night came. Now, Dying Light overall time limit will take you around 20 hours to complete the main story, but you could expect around 25 hours plus if you want to do all the side missions, and it will probably take you over 40 hours plus if you delve deeper into the game and of course go deep into the DLC that the game has. There is a warning before the final mission is complete that you can basically are allowed to explore before you complete the final mission, and you can run around then. You also have the chance when you do finish the game to still explore and clear up any loose ends that you get. You also unlock challenges and bounties which can take you even longer to do and keep the game going for a very, very long time. Now, the game does have a lot of DLC, especially if you look at the Steam store page. There is so much DLC that it's really hard to figure out what DLC that you really want to get. I had a hard time figuring out what version to buy, what DLC to get, so I'm going to go through all the DLCs that the game has, most of the important ones, and tell you the rest aren't really that important. Seriously, most of the DLC is just cosmetic stuff. So all the DLC you see is mostly cosmetic stuff for how you can make Crane look and for some certain items that you can get. Only a few of them give you really crazy powerful items, but most of the DLC items in the game really don't do too much in terms of changing actually how the gameplay uses. In fact, I used a lot of the DLC items in the game. They actually show you which ones are DLC and which ones isn't, which I actually thought that was a nice touch, because sometimes some people don't want to use those weapons. The only thing the DLC items and all those weapons give you is earlier access to, I would say, some weapons, such as getting guns a little bit earlier in the game and getting access to a bow and arrow much earlier than the game, because you can get a bow and arrow like easily within like the first 3 hours of the game. But there wasn't anything that super changed how I play the game, except for a couple of weapons like the Snowmaster one. But when it comes to DLC, there are 4 main DLCs that the game has, and I'll go through each one. The first is the Bozok Hawk. Now, the Bozok Hawk is a new game mode that you fight a horde of the infected while trying to complete certain objectives. Now, this DLC is really difficult, especially if you play this mode alone. I didn't spend too long with this mode, but it wasn't easy. Playing with more friends would probably be more fun, but there really isn't a lot with this DLC. It's just a horde mode where you fight, get some powerful items and materials, and of course, it's really, really difficult. Again, more fun with friends. There's a couple new quarantine zones that you can get, which are fine, but nothing super memorable. There's a prison DLC where you have to fight through an entire prison, which is super long and difficult, and the rewards are definitely not worth it. I spent a long time going through the prison DLC by myself, and it's really tough and difficult, really test your patience. I died a lot, and then I had like 2 minutes to get all the loot at the end, which again, just isn't that fun. I found it pretty boring. I wish there was more that the game had, but again, both these DLCs feel like it's just way more fun if you had like a group of people instead of actually playing for like single player people, so I really didn't find it as fun. And then there's Hell Raid, which is probably the most unique DLC that the game has, where you enter a medieval and magical game called Hell Raid. Gone is the open area of the Iran, and now you're in a tight medieval corridors being chased by skeletons instead of zombies. Now, the aesthetic is cool. I like the look of this DLC. I think the skeletons fighting is really cool, and the different styles that they use is really cool. But I just didn't find this DLC fun. I thought it was very, very boring. It was really tough as well, and I just didn't really get into it as much as I thought I would. So out of those 4 DLCs, 3 of them I really didn't care for as much. I really was disappointed by a lot of the DLC. The items and the weapons are really cool, but most of the DLC I just didn't really care for that much. Now, you can enter the DLCs nearly at any point, as most of them take you outside of the main quest. The Bozok, a horde, can be completed by going through like this ad area. Hell Raid has a complete different system where you can go into the arcade, and then you can also trade for new weapons and stuff that you can get. Again, that's all cool. I just didn't really care for a lot of these DLCs. Now, I don't think they're awful. I just think they focus too much on the combat for me, which I feel isn't the super strongest aspect of Dying Light, but I wish that the DLC was just a bit more fun to play. But while none of these DLCs are that great, there is one that you should purchase, and that is the following.
You said he talked about magic and... what? Domesticated zombies?
He talked about a group of people who don't get infected, even if they're bitten.
Well, delirious people will say anything.
He was holding this map when we brought him in.
Whoa. This looks like...
A way out of Haran. Crane, we are running out of antizin. We have to explore every possibility. We can't wait any longer.
Now the following is sort of like Dying Light 1.5 or even Dying Light 2 because this follows the events of the main game, after the events of the main game, where Crane has learned that a mysterious cult leader may hold the key to the immunity to the virus. He now has to travel to the countryside of Iran and solve the mystery before all the antizin runs out. Now this DLC is big. It has an entirely new map called the Countryside, which is 1.5 times bigger than the main game, where you have a big sweeping farmland. We have a brand new story with brand new characters, and even some characters showing up from the main game, and there's even new zombie types and zombie bosses and giant zombie nests that you have to deal with. This DLC is really fun and really cool, and the biggest addition is the dune buggy. That's right, they added driving to the game. You'll cross the country with your trusty buggy, and this isn't just some small addition. You'll need to check the damage of the buggy and make sure all the areas of the tires, the bumper, the back is repaired, and you even have to make sure that there's enough fuel, meaning you're now looking for new resources of fuel. Whenever you see an abandoned car, you're going to try to find like the fuel area and try to make sure that there's some fuel in it so you can fill up your car, which is really cool. And of course, the best thing about this DLC is running down zombies, which became my favorite thing to do in it. And it still has the dynamic daytime and nighttime stuff. And at night, the volatiles still come out and try to hunt you down. You have to make sure you use your nitrous, you're boosting, you're trying to go over the different cliffs, trying to stay on the road to go as fast as you can so they don't jump on your car. Heck, the buggy itself has its own leveling up system as well, where you can level up so you can make components for it, like level 1 components to 2 to 4 components, eventually making sure that your car can get a front bumper that can do way more damage. Maybe you want to save on fuel, maybe you want to add nitrous to it. I was surprised how well the game is adjusted to adding a vehicle with the game without really changing the core gameplay element. Like, I didn't really miss the parkour sections of the game. They're still there. It's just that most of the time now you're going through a big countryside and running down zombies, which is really fun. The higher the level of the parts, the more durability, the more repairs you can make. Like, you can't even keep those parts forever. Just like a weapon, it will run out. And I really love this. Like, you don't want the car breaking down during a chase at nighttime, and it can actually happen. Your tires can just blow up, and I'm like, oh no, I have to fix my car. Now I have to drop it. It's unbelievable how much fun the following has, and how much changes it does to the gameplay, but it's still really fun. I will say that the following focuses more on gunplay than melee combat, and the parkour is still there, like I said. You just have to make sure those are in the smaller areas of the game. Overall, I love the following, and it's really the only DLC I would recommend anybody buying this game to really get. So if you are going to buy Dying Light, make sure that the following is at least one of the DLC that comes with the main game. It's really fun and a really good time. The DLC will last you probably around 10 to 15 hours because there is its own story, there's a bunch of side missions as well, and driving is just so much fun to do. I loved running over zombies in the game. In fact, it's encouraged that you run over zombies in this game because that's how you level up your car a lot. Really, this is a great time to have. This DLC is worth buying, especially when you're buying the main game. And definitely a real big nod to show how DLCs should be done in other games as well. So, is Dying Light worth your time? Absolutely. Look, this game took me by surprise. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. The story is pretty well done, with Kyle Crane being a great protagonist, and the gameplay is well thought out, with different mechanics all bleeding into one another. And most importantly, this game is very addicting. It's so addicting that I can understand why people play this game for such a long time, just to discover new routes, new ways to play, and just overall having a really great time with this game. I was never bored playing Dying Light, and while I do think there are some issues, and I don't think a lot of the DLC is really good, the following DLC is something that I think every game studio should have. It definitely is like a Dying Light 1.5. I really love this game, and I'll definitely be checking out the other games as well. I've heard some mixed things about Dying Light 2, and I have no idea about Dying Light the Beast, as I haven't really looked into any of that. But I can see why so many people love this series, and love this game in particular. So overall, this game is definitely worth your time. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next game.
You don't know how much this means, dear boy. To me, to all of us.
You see, we are at war, you and I. A war of opposing philosophies. A war to see whose vision of the world proves true.
What the hell are you talking about? Answer me, motherfucker!
Will you be a dog and save the dwellers of the tower? Or will you be a man? Do you live by your own rules, Crane? Or are you merely someone else's puppet?